Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I'm excited to have you here for our discussion on mobile systems security. Today, we're focusing on a very important topic, Android penetration testing. We'll explore the key concepts, techniques, and tools used to evaluate the security of Android devices. So, let's dive in and get started. Let's take a closer look at the contents of this presentation. First, we're going to explore what Android penetration testing actually is. Essentially, it's about evaluating the security of Android applications and the underlying system to identify potential vulnerabilities before malicious actors do. Next, we'll discuss why this is so important. With the increasing reliance on mobile apps for sensitive data and transactions, understanding and testing for security weaknesses helps protect user information and maintain trust. We'll then move on to the structure of an Android package, or APK file, and why understanding this structure is crucial for a thorough security assessment. Knowing how an APK is built helps us pinpoint where vulnerabilities might exist. After that, we'll get into a practical approach, starting with the OWASP Mobile Top 10. This list highlights the most common and critical security risks in mobile apps. For example, improper platform usage can lead to serious security flaws, while insecure data storage and communication can expose sensitive information. Other key issues include insecure authentication, insufficient cryptography, and insecure authorization, all of which can be exploited if not properly implemented. We'll also cover poor code quality, which can introduce bugs and vulnerabilities, as well as code tampering and reverse engineering, which threaten app integrity and confidentiality. Finally, we'll look at extraneous functionality, hidden features or backdoors, that might be intentionally or unintentionally included, posing additional risks. Connecting all these points, our goal is to understand how these vulnerabilities fit into the bigger picture of Android security and how a thorough penetration test can help mitigate them. Mobile applications and services are a huge part of our daily routines, whether we're at home or at work. Because of their importance, they also become prime targets for malicious actors who are looking to steal sensitive information. That's why understanding how to assess their security is so critical. In this guide, I'll walk you through some basic Android penetration testing techniques, specifically for mobile assessments. The goal is to help you identify vulnerabilities and improve overall security. First, we'll start by setting up the environment, getting everything ready so we can begin testing efficiently and effectively. Once that's in place, we'll look at the functionality of key tools that are useful during mobile assessments. These tools are essential for understanding how to analyze and secure Android applications. Throughout this presentation, keep in mind that our focus is on practical skills that can help protect our devices and data from potential threats. So, let's dive into setting up our environment and exploring the tools that will make this process successful. So, let's talk about what Android penetration testing really is. Essentially, it's a process focused on identifying security vulnerabilities within mobile applications. The goal here is to make sure these apps are not susceptible to attacks that could compromise user data or system integrity. Now, you might wonder why this is so important. Well, considering that Android and iOS together hold a combined market share of over 99%, securing these platforms is absolutely critical. By performing thorough penetration testing, we can proactively find and fix weaknesses before malicious actors do. This aligns perfectly with our overall aim of strengthening mobile security and protecting users in today's digital landscape. Let's talk about why Android penetration testing is so important in today's world. Modern Android applications are no longer just about convenience. They are used across a wide range of critical areas like commerce, healthcare, banking, and education. Because of this, these apps often hold sensitive information that needs to be protected at all costs. But here's the key point. These applications are also vulnerable to security issues. That's where penetration testing comes in. By identifying and fixing vulnerabilities early on, developers and testers can significantly reduce security risks before they become serious problems. And with new vulnerabilities emerging every day, ongoing testing is essential. It helps prevent a host of potential threats, fraud attacks, malware infections, and data leaks that could harm both users and the company behind the app. For any organization planning to release a new app, thorough Android penetration testing isn't just a good practice. It's a necessity. It ensures the app is secure, compliant, and ready to go live without the fear of legal or security issues down the line. Mobile penetration testing isn't just about finding security weaknesses. It can also be a valuable tool for evaluating how well our developer team is implementing security best practices. By conducting these tests, we can gain insights into the quality of their work and identify any gaps or vulnerabilities they might have missed. Additionally, it helps us assess the responsiveness of our IT team, how quickly and effectively they can react to potential issues uncovered during testing. One of the key benefits is that these tests can reveal vulnerabilities and misconfigurations in the back-end services that our app relies on. These back-end systems are often the target for attackers, so ensuring they are secure is critical to protecting our entire ecosystem. Overall, integrating mobile penetration testing into our security strategy allows us to not only strengthen our defenses, but also improve internal processes, making our teams more vigilant and responsive. This aligns perfectly with our goal of building a more secure and resilient mobile environment. Let's take a closer look at the structure of an Android package, or APK file. As you may know, an APK is essentially a package that contains everything needed for an Android app to run smoothly. It's an archive file with the app suffix, and inside, you'll find all the code, resources, and assets that make up the app. One interesting thing to note is that APK files can be unpacked quite easily on Linux systems using the command unzip app name, apk. This allows us to explore what's inside and understand how the app is organized. In the image shown here, you can see the unzipped structure of an APK. This structure is key because it shows us how the different components, like the code, resources, and manifest, are stored and arranged. Understanding this layout helps us see how Android loads and executes the app. By understanding the APK file structure, we gain insight into how the app's components work together, which is essential for debugging, security analysis, or even customizing the app. This knowledge ties directly into our overall theme of app development and security, helping us build better, more efficient applications. Let's take a closer look at the key files inside an APK. First, we have METTANF, which contains verification information generated when the app is signed. This helps ensure the integrity and authenticity of the application. Next is the manifest.mf file, which lists all the files in the APK along with their hashes, typically SHA-256 in base 64 encoding. This provides a way to verify that files haven't been tampered with. Then there's the CERTSF file, which lists the names and hashes of the lines in the manifest.mf, acting as a further layer of verification. The CERTRSA file contains the public key and the signature of CERTSF, crucial for verifying the signature's validity. Moving on, the Assets folder holds various resources bundled with the app, images, videos, documents, databases, that can be accessed easily through the Asset Manager. The lib directory is where you'll find native libraries, which are compiled code for different device architectures, ensuring the app performs optimally across diverse hardware. The Raise folder contains predefined resources like XML files for colors, layouts, fonts, and other UI elements, making the interface consistent and manageable. Next is the Android manifest. XML, a vital file that describes the app's package name, its activities, resources, and version info, basically the blueprint of the app. The classes dex file contains all the Java classes in a Dalvik executable format, which the Android runtime executes. Lastly, resources. ARSC holds precompiled resources, linking the code to the app's visual and functional resources seamlessly. Together, these components form the backbone of an Android application, ensuring it functions correctly, securely, and efficiently. Let's start with the OWASP Mobile Top 10 to identify vulnerabilities. OWASP, which stands for the Open Web Application Security Project, is a nonprofit organization that offers security advice and methodologies mainly for web applications. In 2016, they released their latest list of Mobile Top 10 vulnerabilities, which is a really useful resource. This list highlights how each vulnerability can impact both individuals and businesses, and it also suggests ways to prevent these issues. If you're just getting into Android penetration testing, these vulnerabilities are a fantastic starting point. They help you spot flaws more effectively and ultimately improve the security of the applications you're testing. By understanding these common issues, you'll be better equipped to find weaknesses and recommend solutions, making your testing much more efficient and impactful. So, keeping this list in mind will definitely give you a solid foundation as you dive deeper into mobile security. Let's talk about improper platform usage. This category involves misusing key features of the mobile platform, such as Android intents, permissions, keychain, or even not applying the platform's built-in security controls. Essentially, it's about not leveraging the security features that are designed to protect the app and its users. Importantly, for these vulnerabilities to be exploited, there has to be a web service or API call involved that the mobile app communicates with. If that web service isn't properly secured, it becomes a potential target for attackers. The impact of exploiting such vulnerabilities can vary quite a bit. At the lower end, an attacker might just be able to alter some content within the app. But in more severe cases, it could lead to a full account compromise, where an attacker gains complete control over a user's account. So, how do we prevent this? The key is to adopt secure coding and configuration practices on the server side. That means ensuring all interactions between the app and backend services are secure, and that platform features are used correctly and safely. Remember, protecting these elements is crucial to maintaining the overall security posture of the mobile environment and safeguarding user data. Let's talk about insecure data storage. When an app stores unencrypted data directly on the device, it's a risky practice. Malicious apps or attackers can access this data, especially if the device gets stolen. This means sensitive information could be exposed without much effort. The impact of this vulnerability is significant. It can lead to data loss or the extraction of confidential information. The consequences for a business can be severe, including identity theft, fraud, damage to reputation, policy violations like PCI, and even financial losses. To prevent this, it's essential to encrypt stored data or restrict access to local storage. As OWASP recommends, understanding what information your app handles and how the APIs manage these assets is key. Ultimately, safeguarding local data is a crucial part of maintaining your app's security and protecting your users. In this section, we're talking about insecure communication and how it can be exploited by malicious actors. Essentially, if there are vulnerabilities in a network, attackers can intercept sensitive data as it travels across that network. For example, they might monitor the network traffic of a company to gather confidential information. Targeted attacks like these are actually easier to perform when security measures are lacking. The impact of such vulnerabilities can be quite serious. Attackers could expose personal data, which might lead to identity theft or fraud. In some cases, they can even fully compromise accounts and servers. For businesses, this kind of breach isn't just about data loss. It can also cause significant reputational damage and violate customer privacy. So, how do we prevent this? First, it's crucial to use the SSL or TLS protocol for secure communication. These protocols encrypt data in transit, making it much harder for attackers to read intercepted information. Additionally, relying on strong, industry-standard cipher suites with appropriate key lengths is essential. They provide robust encryption that's resistant to attacks. Another key point is ensuring that certificates are signed by a trusted certificate authority, rather than self-signed ones. This adds a layer of trust and verifies that you're communicating with legitimate entities. It's also important to require SSL chain verification, which confirms the entire certificate chain is valid. Lastly, for sensitive data, consider applying an extra layer of encryption before it even enters the SSL channel. This way, even if communication is compromised, the data remains protected. Overall, these measures are vital to maintaining secure, trustworthy communication channels in today's digital landscape. Now, let's talk about insecure authentication. Attackers often exploit this vulnerability using automated tools, whether they're off-the-shelf or custom-built. They typically try to log in with default credentials or find ways to bypass weak authentication protocols. The consequences of such vulnerabilities can be serious: reputational damage, theft of sensitive information, or unauthorized access to critical data. To prevent these issues, it's crucial that all authentication requests are handled securely on the server side. If you need to store data on the client, make sure it's encrypted. When implementing features like Remember Me in mobile apps, never store the user's password directly on the device. Instead, use device-specific authentication tokens that are secure and unique to each device. And a quick note on PINs: avoid allowing users to authenticate with just a simple 4-digit PIN. It might seem convenient, but it significantly weakens security. Overall, reinforcing these authentication practices helps protect your systems and maintain your users' trust. Let's talk about the issue of insufficient cryptography. When data is improperly encrypted, it becomes vulnerable. Attackers with physical access, or even malware, can potentially reverse engineer the encryption and access sensitive information. This is a serious concern because it means that even if you think your data is protected, it might not be. The impact of this vulnerability can be quite severe. Unauthorized retrieval of sensitive data from a mobile device can lead to privacy violations, theft of information or intellectual property, and even damage to a company's reputation. These are risks we need to take seriously. So, how can we prevent this? First, avoid storing sensitive data directly on the device whenever possible. Second, use cryptographic standards that are robust enough to remain secure for at least the next decade. This means selecting algorithms and protocols that have stood the test of time. Lastly, it's essential to follow recognized guidelines, such as those provided by NIST, to ensure you're using recommended algorithms and best practices. By implementing these strategies, we can significantly reduce the risk of encryption vulnerabilities compromising our data and our organizations. Let's talk about insecure authorization. Attackers often leverage automated tools, whether available or custom-built, to log into an application as a legitimate user. Once they're inside, they can perform what's called binary attacks against the mobile app. This means they try to execute privileged functions that should only be accessible to users with higher privileges, especially when the app is in offline mode. The impact of this vulnerability can be quite serious. It can lead to reputational damage, financial fraud, or even the theft of sensitive information. That's why prevention is so critical. To block these attacks, it's essential to verify user roles and permissions strictly through information stored on the backend systems. The backend code must also verify user identities to ensure that only authorized actions are permitted. By doing this, we make it much harder for attackers to exploit privilege escalations, ultimately protecting both the users and the integrity of the application. This ties back into the overall theme of securing our mobile platforms against various types of threats. Let's talk about poor code quality. In this context, an attacker might exploit untrusted inputs passed to method calls within the mobile code. Essentially, if the code isn't written carefully, it becomes an easy target for malware or phishing attacks. Common attack types include memory leaks and buffer overflows, which can be quite dangerous. The impact of these vulnerabilities can be severe. Poor code quality that leads to remote code execution could result in theft of sensitive information, damage to our organization's reputation, or even theft of intellectual property. So, how do we prevent these issues? First, it's crucial to maintain consistent coding patterns that everyone on the team agrees upon. This helps ensure quality and reduces mistakes. Second, Writing code that's easy to read and well-documented makes it easier to spot potential problems early. Always validate the lengths of any incoming buffer data to prevent buffer overflows. And finally, leverage third-party static analysis tools to identify potential memory leaks and buffer overflows before they can be exploited. By focusing on these practices, we can significantly reduce the risk posed by poor code quality and strengthen our overall security posture. Let's talk about code tampering. Attackers often create malicious apps by modifying the source code of existing apps. They then upload these altered versions to third-party app stores, which can be a real threat. Additionally, they can deliver these malicious apps to victims through phishing techniques, making it easier to distribute harmful software. The impact of such vulnerabilities can be quite serious. Code tampering can lead to unauthorized features being added, identity theft, fraud, revenue loss from piracy, and damage to a company's reputation. So, how can we prevent this? One key measure is ensuring that our apps can detect at runtime if their code has been added or changed. This way, any tampering attempts can be caught early. Another important point is that many of these apps run within environments that may be jailbroken or rooted. Users can check if their device is jailbroken or rooted, which adds an extra layer of security. Overall, addressing code tampering is crucial for maintaining trust, protecting user data, and safeguarding our revenue. It's all about staying one step ahead of attackers by implementing these preventive measures. Let's talk about reverse engineering and how attackers might use this technique. They often start by downloading an app from the App Store, and then they employ various tools to perform reverse engineering and static analysis. This process helps them understand how the app functions internally. Once they have that insight, they can modify the code and recompile the app to suit their malicious goals. The impact of such vulnerabilities can be quite serious. Attackers might uncover details about backend servers, which can lead to further exploits. They could also reveal cryptographic constants and ciphers, making it easier to break encryption or steal sensitive data. Additionally, this process can lead to the theft of intellectual property, damaging a company's competitive edge. All of this can result in reputational damage and erode customer trust, not to mention the potential for customer identity theft. So, understanding reverse engineering and safeguarding against it is crucial in protecting our apps and data. Now, let's talk about extraneous functionality. Attackers will often try to understand how an app works to uncover the functionality of the backend system. Once they have that knowledge, their goal is to exploit the backend directly. The impact of such vulnerabilities can be quite serious. It might lead to exposure of the backend system's functionality, allowing attackers to perform unauthorized high-privileged actions. This can result in not only technical damage, but also reputational harm and theft of intellectual property. To prevent this, one effective approach is to conduct manual source code reviews. These reviews help identify and mitigate vulnerabilities before attackers can exploit them. Overall, understanding and protecting the backend is crucial in safeguarding the entire application.